Hey everyone, it's Stephen Moore, also known as Uncle Phantasmo. We're on to the materials phase of this trebuchet build. So that said, here's the basically completed trebuchet, and we're going to talk about different kinds of materials and how to change the properties of them. So it's really pretty straightforward. You can either go to render, and inside render you can choose appearance and change things there, or if you're more comfortable, go to model and just hit A and give it a second to think. There it is. It brings up all the materials. So I have two materials in here currently being used. One is steel satin and the other is steel satin. I'm not totally sure why that's happening that way, but I believe one of them is the default, and then I can change the second one. So that said, let's get into it. I'm going to first change my the support. I don't like that it's the same color as everything else. One of the things you can do is you can go into this database that it has and select any type of metal that it has inside here. So I'm going to stick with steel, but this time I'm going to do steel rough. I'm just going to drag that up into, think of this as like your palette. And now I have it, and I can use it in my project. And then from here you can drag it in, and it'll change. And you'll see it's really, this one in particular is very subtle. It's more something you'll see whenever it goes to render. But I can double click it, and I can actually change it manually, change the hue and the tint and the value manually here. This is your hue, and then your saturation will be its left to right axis, and its value will be your vertical axis, so you're up and down. I think something about there works for me, and that will be a support. Now it'll update the preview so you'll know what it is exactly. That's one way to change things. Let's change the way the bucket. Let's make the hinges. Let's say we'll make them blue, but let's use nickel, and we'll do. I think I like the satin nickel, and I'll drag that onto my bucket and my hinge assembly. But I think I'm going to keep the pins that same color. We're going to go into it. If we open up advanced, we get more little things to fiddle around with. Give it a sec to load if you're on a slow computer like me. These are some of the things that you can change. This one is your roughness. That's going to be how it looks when it's rendered, how well it reflects the environment around it. So the lower the roughness, the more it'll be like a mirror, and the higher the roughness, the more it'll be more like let's see, what is a substance that's got fairly high rough? I'm gonna think like pottery or clay or something like that. It's kind of more what you're gonna get. Basically, it's how reflective the material is and how true it's going to be to that shape. So we can adjust that here. Now this is not checked, but you can add a bump material or a bump map to this. They call it a relief pattern, but what that means is that you can manually change different things. You can add a bump material here, and I have no idea what cutout is. I'll be honest. I think it means hides the cutout properties of the material. Yeah, I'm not sure what that is. I think maybe it's like an opacity in other programs. Okay, so I do know what some of these are. This one is your anisotropy. That's how I pronounce it. I know it's wrong. That is going to change the way highlights on your material are shown, so it'll change them from being perfectly spherical highlights to more elliptical and more elliptical. Orientation changes how the ellipse highlight is rotated on your surface. You can do a manual, you can change the highlight color, and we also have our short and our long fall off. So I'm just going to keep with that. And that is the short of how to adjust and change things. I'm going to show you one other thing that you can do if you have already actually I'm going to show you two things. If you've already placed a material on an object and you're like, oh man, I really don't like that I've made this red and I don't want it to be steel, I can just go down to another thing and take it and drag it, place it right on top, and it'll automatically change that out for you. I don't like that, so I'm going to bring it back. But you can do that. And then also, if you want, you can add, let's do plastic. We'll do, actually, you know what we're going to do? Leather and cloth, fabric, light brown. I'm going to bring that into it, only this time I'm just going to place it right on the basket that I have here. Now what I was going to show you is that, let's say you only want the basket to have this cloth material on the interior of this. You can go to faces, and we'll put a black glossy, and now I can select just the faces that I want instead of the entire component. And that is the short. Yes, that is the short of how to edit and change materials. So in the next tutorial, I believe we're going to be talking about rendering and getting a pretty picture and setting all of that stuff up. So stay tuned, and I'll see you guys in the next video.